much they've captured in any geographical area. And it also tells them who's spending money, who's saving money, and who they need to get rid of, because now they figure out how to work the fractional reserve system to their advantage. That's the difference between money and currency. In Big Mama Bank, in the olden days, we use gold, silver, coal, what we call mineral wealth. Mineral wealth and is in order to supply the people that's giving us what's called gross domestic or gross national product, which consists of your food stocks and all of this stuff, right? So you needed a medium of exchange similar to an IOU, except the IOU is backed by a substance that's on reserve in the so-called bank, right? So the outlaws was robbing the banks in the West because the tribes in the West did their business so well that they couldn't usurp them using the traditional business strategy. So then they had to resort to what's called robbery on the high seas, which is in the land, when they're applying admiralty to land, the robbery on the high seas becomes robbery on the highway. The highway didn't used to be the road system. The highway used to be the river networks that the indigenous or the organic tribes, I don't like to say indigenous because that's confusing and native is confusing, but organic means you emerged from the land like a tree. Your bloodline been here so long, it's emerged from the land just like a tree. All right, so now when you separate currency and money, right, you had to marry two different banks together. So pull out $1, Elder. You got $1 on you?
Nah, my wallet in the truck. I left my wallet in the truck. Yeah.
Okay. Can you Google a picture of $1?
Yep. Oh, I can put it on my laptop. I think so. I wish I would have did this on the laptop. Yeah, but we just went live. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, don't even worry about it. If you look on the dollar, this is all I'm gonna tell you.
Yeah.
You're gonna see that it's a contract.
Yeah.
Hey, first you gotta know what a contract is. A con is a game of deception. A tract is a tract of land. The land that they deceiving is in the form of the physical organic being. He's a walking plot or lot of land. Go back to what Papa said. Free Malachi York, free Rashad Jamal, free Larry Hoover, free Angel Bay, free Imam Abu Jamal, free all political prisoners, unleash the chiefs on the land. I don't know where that just came from. I just had to say it.
Oh yeah, hit him.
Okay, so when they got these two banks on there, one of them is called the Federal Reserve Bank. And they have a contract with something called the United States Treasury. The contract has to always be visible to anybody participating in the contractual obligation between the two banks. Right? When did they break they gave us a clue, but I'm gonna see who's paying attention. When did they break the contract or conclude the business contract between the Federal Reserve and the United States Treasury? You know what the clue they gave was, right?
What was the clue?
Okay, if you had a river and you got to get from one side of the river to the other side of the river, you got several means to get across. Can you name them?
Swim. Get a boat.
You can go by boat. You can swim.
Shit.
Or
build you
a bridge.
Yeah.
Go back. Okay, so who wrote the Star Spangled Banner?
One of the Nubian lady that wrote it, but they took it though, gave it to somebody else.
Listen, who get the credit?
It really, hey, I remember you did a tape on that. It tied it to Farrakhan somewhere kind of way, like to Farrakhan wife or somebody.
That was the flag. That was the flag.
Okay, that was the flag.
Star Spangled Banner was written by Francis Scott Keys.
Okay.
You know, it ain't ringing no bells, is it?
No.
Now I'm finna ring the shit out your bell.
Okay.
Remember, the Francis Scott Keys Bridge got ran into by a barge and collapsed and exploded, but it was an illusion. It was a controlled demolition under the pretense of a barge smashing into the pylon of the bridge.
Man, that just happened too.
So that's when the two banks are no longer together. Why would you separate the Federal Reserve from the United States Treasury?
Yeah, hey, that's the next question. Go ahead, write that down.
The Federal Reserve is a foreign body politic.
Okay.
Doing business in an interim capacity, and they assume the financial responsibilities of the United States Treasury.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
The United States Treasury was held hostage under the Civil War from the North.
Mm-hmm.
The original bank was the Bank of the South. It was the only operational, fully functional bank that was tied to all of the big mama banks all the way to what we call today Oregon and Washington.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Mm-hmm. There was no banks in New York, Boston, Baltimore that was tied to the banks, the big mama banks, what we call the United States treasures. Mm-hmm. The treasures of the United States, which mm-hmm. takes you to the movie of National Treasure with Nicolas Cage. Right. After he go on the scavenger hunt, then he find himself in an underground tunnel that goes from New York to Philadelphia to DC, and it's fully loaded with all kinds of treasure. Gold, jewelry, ancient stuff that's covered in dust because Big Mama Bank been locked down.
Right.
Right? Why was Big Mama Bank locked down? We was at war. Big Mama Bank does not function during war. This is a term that's been classified and appointed to an individual, but it don't have nothing to do with a man witch called a warlock.
Go ahead.
A warlock is Big Mama shutting her bank down during war so that nobody can steal the wealth of the collective. Uh-huh. You can only take individual wealth. You cannot steal the wealth of the collective because it's not part of the war. It's not what they call booty or spoils of war.
Right.
Right. So now the current system is collapsing in real time. I was just telling you about the girl. Somebody sent me the video of the little girl who had the baby dolls and books targeting the melanated children, and they just liquidated her bank and never sent them a check because they say her address, they didn't leave their address on file, but their address is the header to the account.
Right.
All right. Now, the reason that is she gonna get all her money back with interest. First of all, I gotta tell y'all that out the gate. Everybody that the system is literally stealing from, if you don't get land back, you will have a proper compensation for the land that was removed from your family. This is why I keep telling everybody to learn family banking. If you don't learn family banking, then you're going to be the last ones in your family or in the families that's collective to get wealth back.
Hey, so
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so that brings the next question. Because people were asking about reparations and how are we gonna redistribute the wealth under Big Mama's rule? Are we gonna just line up and they hand out money or hand out some certificate and say, oh, here you go, you 100, here you go, you 100. Like how's the transition gonna happen? Because we know, and this are the questions that I got written down. we know that the government is going out of business, and it's a lot of people that depend on the government. It's a lot of people that depend on Social Security, disability, food stamps. You know, just that little extra they get from the government. They've been living on it for a while. How often support for the people that only paying a certain amount of money? That's the next question. I got a whole bunch of questions dealing in this think tank, but how is the transition going to happen from the government shut down and then the support that we get from the government? Because we know that Donald Trump was in there, he was cutting back on food stamps. He was collecting money from people and shedding people off. So, like, how does that work? That's the first part of the question about the switch over.
Okay, during the transitional period, everybody that's getting Social Security, they cannot turn it off.
Okay.
Social Security is one of the few things that they can't turn off.
Okay.
Only it won't be nowhere to cash your check. Because all of the regular banks are under the Federal Reserve's jurisdictional authority, and it's lost to the Federal Reserve, to the tribes.
Damn.
Okay, now, for those people who want to know what Big Mama is going to have control of on the turnaround, you have about 25 years of executive orders to read. All of them is on average about a page long. They go all the way back to Bill Clinton in the mid-90s and come all the way up to the last one that was issued by Donald J. Trump. If you go to the national, if you go to the executive order web page of the government, it's a bar across the top that's telling you that page is frozen time. I mean, they can't update it. I mean, the last executive order was the last executive order. If they told you Biden did an executive order, they lying.
Right.
Because he's not the president. Donald J is the wartime president. When he was elected originally, he wasn't elected under the Republic. The Republic was suspended with the 18th president. And then they put in interim presidents all the way up until Donald Trump pulled their card with the white hats. Okay. So what happens now, all of these people then being taken advantage of by a corrupted system, and we've been watching this system a minimum since JFK assassination. Right. This is what activated the white hats to be able to step in because of what was written by the founding fathers, not the ones they telling us about, but the Iroquois Confederacy, which takes us to the Longhouse.
Okay. Yep. The Longhouse.
Under the Longhouse doctrine of the Confederate nations, that they had a certain amount of time to restore the government back, but instead of restoring it, they just kept stepping on us and taking more and stepping on us and taking more until they stretched from the Atlantic to the Pacific. Right now, what we about to see happen is Big Mama Bank, under first thing you're gonna see us season, it's gonna be 3 key banks or businesses that the tribes seized a long time ago, but you haven't heard about it yet. BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard.
Yeah, right. Go ahead. Go break that.
Right. Now, under Vanguard, you have a starving artist program that was founded by Tupac Amaru back in '92 with the financial and military strategic advice of his family. And y'all all know who his family is, Panthers. And they told him how to secure the artist's wealth without having to deal directly with the contracts, right? So what they was doing is An artist would sign and they'd give him an advance. A percentage of the advance went into what's called the VMix account. The VMix account only trade in very key high return products like white diamonds, right? They won't deal in a lesser diamond than the top-notch, flawless white diamonds. This is to make sure that when the economy fall, they have substance. So all of these artists, Pop Smoke, Young Dolph, what's my man out of Chicago? King Von. All of their wealth is secured. And because of the way they investments ran, now they worth more than dead celebrity status was when they murdered them or murdered them on record. Many of them elected to go that route because they return would be so much greater in the aftermath of this war that's been taking place right under our noses for the last 6,000 years. Okay, so now everything gonna come when they tell you BlackRock fell, they lying. BlackRock can't fall because BlackRock is not part of the fiat system. But what they can do is they can tell you BlackRock fell under the fiat system, and then BlackRock turn around and rise up. But it's not what we think. It's not who we think. Don't none of the people they tell you run it or own it. Now, that's the same for Vanguard, and that's the same for State Street. And that's why they own each other's stock. That's a business strategy. Now, remember, I'm telling y'all this financial stuff, but this is not my area of specialty. Okay, now, when Big Mama Bank take over, the old system has to collapse.
Okay.
When the old system collapse, it's going to be what's called a grace period where people going to have to pay attention, or else they going to lose track of what's going on to get their family's wealth. A lot of us don't want to pay attention. We want to listen to guys like Rod Hayes, like Rashad Jamal, like Young Elder, like Phase One. They like to listen to us go on rants and tirades about being done wrong. It makes them feel good. It's almost like going to church. Where you go and you shout on Sunday to make it tolerable to do another week of slavery as a slave on the plantation called the plant or the workforce.
Damn, you going in. Go ahead.
Right. So now we come full circle. We at the gates of the great hurrah, the last motherfucking collapse. I was watching the retired military general out of Australia. I was trying to find the video because I wanted you to share it with the people. But it's on another app. The one Dr. Kia Pruitt used to be on. I can't even remember the name of it. Is it Discord?
Yeah, I think it's the name of it, Discord.
And maybe they put videos up like YouTube.
Yeah.
Anyway, so whatever it is, but he was going into all of this stuff I'm telling you, I've been saying for the last year and a half. And he said the same thing almost word for word, like he was quoting me. Yeah. But he's an insider. Right? He's part of the contingent of white hats that's operating in Australia, or what we call the Outback. It's not Australia, it's the Outback. It's the land of the Aboriginals, or the land of the people that was already there. Outback mean in the fields in the 9 city areas, but it's all still part of their territory. They can't take that from them. They blood ties and their ancestral ceremonial burial sites is still there. They tried to exhume our burial sites to move us off the land, but we got too many ancestors and they couldn't dig them up fast enough before the close of the age in the last 500 years to get them all. And all we need is one ancient ancestor still buried. And all you got to do is go to Jekyll Island, where we got those 8-foot tall chiefs. It's like 7 of them down there, where they did the Jekyll Island conjure to establish the central bank, because they didn't have, they basically used counter conjure to conjure our ancestors for their bidding.
Mm-hmm.
The old spirits is fickle.
Mm-hmm.
If they own won't call on them, they will answer who will.
Go ahead.
Right? So when they went to him, we hadn't called on them for over 200 years. And now, thanks to Rising Phoenix, thanks to Arisha Stone and several others, Kelly the Love Aquarian, they done went down there and did the family business on the Jekyll Island in the plane in front of everybody, and nobody didn't know what they was doing, but they was calling the ancestral forces, stop supporting the enemy.
Mm-hmm.
We need you to get back what's rightfully ours.
Mm-hmm.
Right? All of this has been going on in real time.
Mm-hmm.
Matter of fact, if you go to my Instagram story, you'll see Phoenix story where she just got done going down there. And the crazy thing is, on the 22nd, I went to Detroit. You know what? September the 22nd is the day that is recorded by the Nation of Islam that Master Muhammad introduced himself to the messenger Elijah Muhammad.
Go ahead. Write that down.
Right. Now, that's the cover story.
Yeah. 1887, right? 76 is what it was.
It was 1930, I think.
Yeah. I'm thinking about the date he was born. My bad.
Yeah, you talking about his birthday.
Yeah, his birthday.
But this the day that he introduced himself to Elijah Muhammad, which is a significant date. And I found myself in Detroit on the 22nd. At the same time, I'm in Detroit having a powwow with some a small family group. Phoenix is in Jekyll Island doing family business on behalf of Oye, Yemiya, and Oshun. And so they can dress this monkey up whatever suit they want to put in. They can't stop it from being a monkey, because what's coming, they can't stop. There's too many of us that's aware of the part that we play in the ancestral redemption process. I'm just here to tell you who did the conjure and how do we prove it and how do we get from under it. That's my job. My job is not to deal with the financial aspect. That's why I don't do nothing for money, because the money will confuse you and delude you into thinking that the people that's controlling fiat control money, and all they controlling is a false premise.
Now, he didn't say money, he said the economy. That's what John Rockefeller, what his name is, Rothschild. But that brings the next question I got for you, Rod. Now, people were saying that the tax, and I'm gonna get into we'll get into the tax next, but I want to ask you this question.
Taxes on Big Mama Bank. And Big Mama Bank, there's no such thing as taxes.
Okay. Write that down.
There's no such thing as taxes. Taxes is a usury that was created by Khazarians under the system of Babylonian money magic. Same with fractional reserve banking. All that's Babylonian money magic.
Go ahead. All
that come out of, you can read about it in the Talmud and Mishnah, where they telling them to control the Goy's money.
Yeah.
Controls a means of medium of exchange for goods and services, and they ain't nothing they can do but come to you to do business. So that's one of the things we had to recover, was the whole economic system. We have to put a whole new system in place, and under the old system, our system would be considered fraud. But under our system, their system is considered fraud.
Okay.
Their system is based on fractional reserve banking, where $10 can get you $1,000 without you ever doing nothing but writing it on the paper.
Yeah.
Ours is, if you don't have the money, we can't give you a loan. There's no such thing as credit or taxes under Big Mama Bank. It's what we call cash and carry. You either can afford to live at this level or you can't afford it. It's no longer will you
Living
be
like a
putting
joke.
off right. You're gonna live your life perpetually in debt, buying things you can't afford, which is called consumerism.
Right.
And if you go listen to them, they always talking about the consumer this, the consumer that. Well, why are they calling you a consumer? What do consumers do? They consume.
Mm-hmm.
The consumer, the Jewish term for them is useless eaters.
Okay.
That means that you consuming, but you don't have any intrinsic value of the self. You the same as cattle. That's what the whole term goyim means, chattel, right? So you a chattel human, just like they got cattle. Cattle is the terms of Bovians. Chattel was in reference to packs of humans. And they told you tribes was gangs and that gangs was bad. They never told you that tribe and gang can be used interchangeably. And because we don't do the etymology, we never know that when they talking about a gang, they talking about a tribe.
Right.
Right.
Right. Go ahead.
So now we know what's going on. We know who did it, all that stuff. But here it is. We don't have enough people to hit critical mass because people are inherently naive and believe in the status quo, which has been a fraud the whole time. They believe more in the current uniform system because the uniforms make people look legit.
Right.
That's straight out of the Niccolo Machiavelli, the prince, telling him how to control people with trinkets of worthless metals formed into fancy items in order to give them recognition that makes them feel like they're superior to somebody else. It's trickery.
Right.
Right.
Next
We don't.
question.
Yeah, go ahead.
That's on the same line. So if you're gonna keep you going, you're on the same line. So what people asking, and I wrote the questions down. They said, okay, what would happen to the police? Being the police is on this private corporation corps, they're under uniform codes and commercial codes and all these codes. What would how would the transition happen with the police going out? Because a lot of them shut down. They ain't saying it. A lot of departments closing down. What would Yeah, what would happen with the police department? Will the gangs or something? What would be converted over as
Well, the
the
first thing you're gonna see when the police
public service? Okay,
right. So the first thing you'll see is National Guard taking over.
Okay,
that's the first thing you're gonna see.
Okay,
this is to give the ones who's been deceptively incorporated into the police force an opportunity to salvage themselves and their family. Some of the police believe that they are walking incarnations of the law. And if you don't listen to them, you in violation. They got a term for it called, if you look up this term, matter of fact, I'm gonna pull it up on here. I'm gonna pull it up.
Write it down.
The term is called contempt of cop.
That's the ones I'm just doing my job.
No, they believe that they are the job. They're not doing their job. They the walking embodiment of the law. Look, contempt of cop. Look, let me show you.
Yeah.
So, I'm about to read it. I wanted to show you that I ain't just quoting nothing off my head. It's a contempt of cop is law enforcement jargon in the United States. Now notice where it's at. For behavior by people toward law enforcement officers that the officers perceive as disrespectful or insufficiently deferential to their authority. It is a play on the phrase contempt of court and is not an actual offense. Right?
Wow. It's part of the conjuring.
Some examples of behavior that may be considered contempt of cop include disobeying instructions. There's no law saying you have to listen to the police. Expressing interest in filing a complaint against the officer. Making profane and disrespectful remarks to the officer. Nobody didn't tell you got to respect them. Fuck them.
Right.
Being slow to or not submitting to the officer's requests, directions, or orders. There is no law saying you got to listen to them until they come up with this term called resisting arrest. Think about that for a minute.
Right.
When they say resisting arrest, they mean that you're refusing to become a prisoner.
Yeah, let's go ahead.
If you're in a war zone, right? And you go, if you are American soldiers, 2 of y'all, you ride down in Iraq on 50 Iraqi loyalist jihad soldiers and say, put your hands on the car, you under arrest. What's supposed to happen according to nature?
All them GIs finna get on your ass. You ain't taking none of that.
Tear your ass up. Now look what we do. They ride down on 50 Bloods or 50 Crips or 50 GDs or 50 BDs or 50 Peace Stones or 50 Vice Lords and say, hey, come over here. Now, majority of them gonna stab out and run. We out of here.
Yeah.
A small group of them gonna say, oh man, police always harassing us. They're gonna put their hands on the car. They're gonna get patted down. And out of all the ones that did that, out of every 10 of them, at least 2 of them gonna have something that's illegal.
Right.
In their possession. No matter what it is, whether it's a joint, or whether it's a old crack pipe, old weed pipe, whatever it is, you're gonna have something illegal on you. First of all, why in the fuck is you bothering me? Right? When the police is only supposed to respond to a complaint.
Right. Go ahead. Say
That's
something.
Their job. Their job is not to stop crime. Their job is to wait for the crime to happen and then find somebody to punish for the crime that they are saying happened.
Right.
This is why they can kill an innocent man with no repercussions.
Probable cause, they created probable cause to be able to overthrow that rule.
Well, probable cause was the way to get around the Miranda.
Okay.
Your right to remain silent and your right not to be a witness against yourself. Probable cause is just to usurp your rights.
Okay, go ahead.
Right? Because now, what do they use for probable cause? Oh, I thought I smelled some weed. Ain't nobody smoked no weed in this car since 1975. It's 1998. What is you talking about? Right? But it don't matter. The officer perception, now we going back to the contempt of cop, his perception, right? His profile that he developed in his own mind, according to his own understanding of the law. And they never taught law. They taught law enforcement. They not taught law. You should not be allowed to be a law enforcer without knowing law.
Right.
Because if one of your fellow officers is committing a crime in front of you, you covering for him, you are an aider and abettor according to law.
Facts.
But according to the police, I'm honoring the blue wall. I ain't rolling on my they more anti-snitch than the niggas in the street.
Damn. That's true, bro.
Look, they will leave a partner that then told on one of them to his own devices in the most hostile situation to get him killed.
Damn.
All you got to do is go back and watch some of those police movies like Internal Affairs. They'll show you.
Yeah. Yeah.
They writing these movies based on testimonials of people who worked in that field. They call consultants because now they retired.
Right. Go ahead.
Right. Okay. Now, when the National Guard come in, they the first motherfuckers getting arrested. This is why police stations and sheriff's offices is closing down. The sheriff is a unique animal because the sheriff is supposed to be elected by the people.
Right.
Right. And the marshal, the U.S. Marshal is supposed to be elected by the people. Them are not supposed to be appointed positions.
Right.
Currently, the U.S. Marshal is an appointed position.
It's not supposed to be. Mama got U.S. badges, Marshal badges.
Yeah. but they're not supposed to be appointments. The U.S. Marshal is supposed to be the sheriff that has jurisdictional authority to operate on multiple tribal territories. Right? Now, all of their powers have been stripped. You know who got their power?
We do.
No, we ain't got shit from them. The U.S. Marshal powers is the FBI powers now.
Go ahead.
What's to do with the Attorney General's office?
Okay.
Right, all that's U.S. Marshals power. That's not separate, but they separated it in order to give them more isolated control over aspects of how we govern, and then it makes it where they can put people that are controllable at the top of these organizations. Right. So if you have a marshal that haven't been elected, he's operating under fraud, under fraudulent pretenses, what they call in the United States Code. He's operating under colorable law, the color of law.
That's right.
Right. That means that he's doing all of the things that the lawful person would do, but he don't have the legal standing to do it.
Right. No delegation.
Right. That's because it's de facto. De facto means they just assuming the position. But since it ain't nobody else here to be mayor, I'll appoint me. Now, and since there ain't nobody to be deputy mayor, elder, I'll appoint you. Now, how we like that? Right. That's what they doing. You can't do that.
Yeah.
The chiefs are not, look, the chiefs are born into families. The family test them. Then they send them to the local community. Then they send them out in the world to the extended community. And they have to come in contact with a certain amount of people on the land from different walks of life. And this is why we find ourselves as fugitives and vagabonds and vagrants, as pauper kings or pauper gods. Right?
Question. Go ahead.
Yeah. So we ride around on trains with hobo sticks, but we really the ones who's supposed to be governing this. But the uniform system is more pleasing to the eye than everybody's rep your colors.
Right. Hey, Rod, I got a good question for you. Based off, keep it going based on what you just said. Now,
I'm listening. I gotta grab something. I'm listening.
Like today, a brother was put to death on a death penalty. I don't know if you heard about that. And they had found evidence that the brother was innocent, and they didn't want to hear the evidence. They still put the brother to death today. Go out to the family on that. But he was in jail 25 years before they put him to death. That's just one part. That wasn't the question, but I was just making that like a known.
Do you think he the first one?
Huh?
Do you think he the first one?
No, he ain't the first one. He ain't the first one. He ain't the first black brother. They didn't did it like that. They didn't did a whole bunch of brothers like this. This was in St. Louis. This is in St. Louis. And you know how St. Louis is. But this is a question I got for you. All the people, because we know this been they've been auctioning us off to these private owned prisons. Now, so all the brothers that's been in there for crimes that not like real crimes like drugs and just stuff that's like couples and statues. Under Big Mama's rule, will they get released? And the people that's in there for they got proven that they innocent, like Doc and other people. How would it be a new jail system or prison system under Big Mama's rule, and those guys that's in there for those type of crimes, would they be released? That's the first question I got for you on that part.
They ain't gonna just open up the doors and let nobody out.
Okay.
When the system transition, that's not gonna happen. We can get that out of our head.
Okay.
But what will happen is called the attrition model. Every community has to have a what's called re-entry initiative program to acclimate the people that's been out of society back into the society and set them up for guaranteed success. And we have the model that's been proven to work, but it's never been applied in modern systems. They apply it in tribal communities all over the world. When you come back from war in tribal communities, you don't just join the community all over again. You go to an internship that can last up to 5 years with the shaman, and this is where your psychiatry, psychology come from, right? When people are under the stressors of war, they behave outside of their regular, natural self. We've been in a perpetual state of war in America, hardcore for 500 years. We ain't allowed to attack them because that was part of the George Washington challenge. We had to educate ourselves out of the condition that kept us ignorant enough to be controllable by the system. Most of 99.999% of us have no clue of what I'm talking about right now. Right. But this is why the devil got the extension from the War of 1812, which brought us to the 2012 calendar year. Right. And remember, it was 2014 when the Pope wrote Obama the letter.
Yep.
Right. Now, we didn't see Obama selling us out, even though he was openly doing it. We didn't know what he was doing because we don't know what's called the lingo of the secret societies or the royal families of Europe.
Right.
He was working hardcore. He was cloned by the Hitler program, the Boys from Brazil program, as the clone of Akhenaten, and his job is to seduce the people as if you was Akhenaten, and they will believe in you wholeheartedly, but you're going to do our bidding instead of doing what Akhenaten would have actually done, which was gave it all back to the people.
Right.
So when you look at ever since Ronald Reagan took power, or power was taken from Ronald Reagan by George Herbert Walker Bush before he assumed office. Right? That's what we don't pay attention to. Bush was not supposed to be his running mate. I think the guy named was out of Michigan was Monahan. Was supposed to have been the running mate for Ronald Reagan. But once he secured the Republican nomination, the Republicans marched George Herbert Walker Bush out, the godfather of the Skull and Bones Society, director of the CIA. Using his skull and bone contacts, he was able to get to the top tier of the CIA. He became the director of the CIA. As the director of the CIA, he was able to run off the Watergate scandal to get rid of Tricky Dick. He needed to put somebody that they called soft in office, so they elected a peanut farmer out of Georgia.
Wow.
Right? And why is he still living and he's 297 years old?
Right.
Everybody did but him.
It's a good question.
Because he's an android.
Damn. Hey, man, that makes sense now, bro. You just made...
Go back to the year 2000 and What to Expect by Baba, Malachi Z. York.
Yeah, that makes sense now. A lot of shit just went off of my head when you said that now.
You know who else an android?
Who, Bite?
Zuckerberg. That motherfucker having AIDS since high school. That's not possible. I don't give a fuck how good your DNA is, but his DNA definitely wouldn't have been possible for him to not age in 35 years.
He looked the same, yep.
Because he's the same. You know where you can find him as Data on Star Trek.
Go ahead.
That's who Zuckerberg is. He's just a figurehead. The United States military owns the internet. Period.
Go ahead.
All of the social media platforms is military intelligence gathering platforms, including YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Discord. If you name one, the military is the real owner.
Right.
Now they might put people in the position that look like X, that look like Elon Musk on X. He don't own shit. He don't own shit. First of all, he ain't even real. He got a whole dude about this tall working levers in his chest.
Right. It's a movie I like that. Yeah,
I'm serious. Like it sounds totally insane. I know it do because we're not used to seeing that.
Yeah,
but he got one of the little ones, and dude be laughing. He got a good sense of humor, the one that's inside of him. And he do stuff for joke value, shock value, to give him something to laugh at. And he know that 99.9999999% of humans have no fucking clue that the real Elon Musk been took out of the picture a long time ago.
Go ahead.
And it's about 3 different bodysuits he used. He don't even use the same bodysuit all the time.
You can tell. You can tell.
And all of this stuff is like, we supposed to be able to see this because our God mind sees all deception. But they told us at the priest wars told us to not let our God mind activate. And amen.
Okay.
Unknown, concealed, repressed, held back. Amen. Amen. Amun. It's the same shit. It's a spell of sleep that you conjuring up on yourself because you believe that you can handle it with your ego's development on your own because they convinced you that you don't need nobody but your ego and your thermos.
Right. Hey,
that comes from the dirt.
I'm gonna ask someone. Raw is doing his breakdowns. Goddess was asking because this everybody been asking. I got this question 100,000 times, and I got it written down. Dark Goddess. She was asking about because we know on some reservations when I visit some reservations, especially the ones like in that was New Mexico, they didn't pay electricity. They got free electricity, and so they was wondering like on the Big Mama system.
All utilities is prepaid. You don't pay for utilities. That's governmental responsibility.
Right. We really don't. You really can't pay for utilities now. You think you paying for utilities with fiat? You crazy? Look, it's a way you can write that off with a red ink pen. Like I saw some people doing it. I didn't go into it too much, but I remember it. But
that's
I don't think paying. We only supposed to be paying water and electric.
Look, it's called redeem it for value, accept it for value. With the red ink, but that's a trap.
How did that? Okay, go into the free electricity and how that works. All it together for us. Go ahead, bro.
Utilities is a responsibility of the government. Big Mama Bank pay all of the government's expenses. That's why everybody